All the people who say that Ben Franklin invented electricity make me want to scream. Electricity existed long before humans walked the earth. Asking who invented electricity is like asking who invented fire. You know, probably the first caveman named Og back in the who knows when days, all right, discovered electricity when he watched lightning strike a tree and start a fire. He discovered fire and electricity and said, there we go, that's something new. Oh, yes, the internet, where the stories are great, but not always so true. The bolts of static electricity we see in the sky in the form of lightning during a thunderstorm shows the power of electricity that no one invented. I started teaching about the internet back when it went commercial in the 1990s. That's when I launched my Geek History website and dove into early online forums looking for things to write about. Nowadays, I get frustrated when I surf YouTube looking for ideas for things to write about, like I am here today, where I find a tidal wave of myths, legends, and flat-out nonsense about inventors and inventions. Oh yes, YouTube, it's become the world's information hub for misinformation and cool stories. Every week there's another bogus top 10 list of who invented everything. And it really gets old at times because the laundry lists don't get us anywhere. The world loves the lone genius myth. That guy who goes, oh, eureka, guess what I've discovered? It makes for great stories, but it's very seldom the way things really worked out in the real world. Real invention is messy. It's collaborative. It's evolutionary. Technology is a chain of experiments, one built on top of another. Experiments, failures, and improvements. Not one single aha moment. So, in this episode of The Cranky Cynic, I want to talk about some forgotten geeks who came before Ben Franklin and established our principles of modern electricity. The people who actually laid out the groundwork for understanding electricity. And we'll just talk a little bit about the mythology of Ben Franklin and put that into perspective. Okay, you ready to join me? Come on in.
Let's get cynical. Have fun. Smile more. Laugh hard.
Long before Benjamin Franklin ever thought about flying a kite, there were ancient cultures around the Mediterranean noticing strange electrical effects. Writings from these ancient periods describe how rods of amber could be rubbed with fur or silk to attach light objects like feathers. Amber, a fossilized tree resin used in jewelry and folk medicine, became closely associated with this mysterious force. That the first particle charge to carry electricity, the electron, takes its name from the Greek word for amber, electron. So, you really want to play that who discovered it game. So how about a name from way back in the 600 BC area? Thales of Miletus. The philosopher Thales, better known for his work in geometry, actually wrote down some notes about in his writings that recorded observations of magnetism and static electricity. He noted that lodestone attracts iron and that rubbing fur on amber produces a force capable of moving small objects. Not exactly a dissertation on electricity, but it was the beginnings of humans trying to make sense of static electricity. There's also ancient artifacts from the Middle East. If you watch those ancient astronaut TV shows, you might see something called a Baghdad battery and all kinds of crazy objects. They're supposed to be early electrical inventions. We're not really sure a lot of these things, what they were for, but for the purposes of geek history and busting that myth that Ben Franklin discovered electricity, let's get a more modern times definition of electricity and talk about the first person to actually define electricity, William Gilbert. Gilbert's often called the father of electrical engineering. In his 1600 book, De Magnete, he carefully documents the behavior of electricity and magnetism, and he distinguishes between the two. Gilbert was the first to coin the term electricity, once again using the word electra from the Greek to talk about it, and he linked the science back to those early amber experiments. Not long after the days of William Gilbert, Robert Boyle came along. He's better known as the father of modern chemistry, and he conducted experiments with electricity and magnetism. In 1675, he published Experiments and Notes about the mechanical origin or production of electricity. So there's another document pushing the study of electrical phenomenon into the realm of systematic science. So there we have two scientists that took a lot of time to document electricity before the days of Ben Franklin. More than just flying a kite and saying, wow, that's electricity, we have some other scientists that brought electricity into the mainstream of science. One of those was Alessandro Volta, who brought electricity into the age of chemistry. Volta discovered that certain chemical reactions could produce a steady current, and in 1799, he invented the first true battery known as the voltaic pile. The unit of electromotive force, the volt, is named after Alessandro Volta. Along comes Michael Faraday in the 1800s, and one of the greatest experimental scientists in history demonstrated the first simple electric motor in 1821. He showed that electricity from magnets, batteries, and static sources were all manifestations of the same underlying phenomenon. Faraday introduced key terms that we still use today, such as ion, electrode, cathode, anode. He wasn't just a science experimenter, he was building the vocabulary of electricity for the future. James Clerk Maxwell. He provided the mathematical framework that tied everything together. In 1855, Maxwell presented the ideas that would become Maxwell's equations, the foundation of modern electromagnetism. His work unified electricity, magnetism, and light into one single coherent theory, and he was setting the stage for every electrical technology that would follow. So there's your evolution of the history of the science of electricity. So what about Ben Franklin? Well, what did he do? Well, crazy as it is, there's too many people who have Ben Franklin as the discoverer or the inventor of electricity. His famous kite in a thunderstorm is a fable, but there are some facts behind it. According to the Franklin Institute, on a June afternoon in 1752, Franklin and his son took the opportunity of the approaching thunderstorm to take a walk into a field. The experiment wasn't groundbreaking in the sense of revealing anything new, but what it did accomplish was the demonstration of the connection between lightning and electricity. And basically what this experiment did is give Franklin some notes to work with so he could eventually perfect his invention, the lightning rod. While Franklin was a serious scientist and a prolific inventor in his day, including the creation of the lightning rod, he was far from the first person to study electricity. As we've already mentioned, William Gilbert and Robert Boyle had been documenting electrical phenomenon long before Benjamin Franklin ever flew his kite. While Franklin was surely not the first person to show lightning was electrical in nature, his experiment was one step in a much larger scientific journey, not the beginning of it, and as we said, his great invention in that field was the lightning rod. Oh, so the next time somebody tells you Ben Franklin invented electricity or discovered electricity, or however the cute little forum says it, just smile politely and say, no thanks, I'm going over to the Cranky Cynic, where he explains to me the real geek history, the real stories, not just bullet points and timelines. Okay? It stretches from ancient philosophers to scientists who built the mathematical formula to really understand who discovered electricity. Ben Franklin is just one chapter in a long book. And his lightning bolt myth is just that, a cool story, but just one simple chapter in a long book of experiments and documentation. The one promise I made in creating the Cranky Cynic is history will be interesting and history will be fun. More than just a laundry list of names and dates, okay? Sound good to you? I hope so. Give this video a like, give us a subscribe, and come on back for more. We're here for you. Stay tuned.
Let's get cynical.